I can't believe you're that uneducated. What a disappointment. Actually, we're not a match, so please don't come to the wedding. I, a night school graduate, was told this by my sister's fiancé. Considering my sister's feelings, I decided not to attend. Yes, my sister has a prestigious background working in the government. But on the wedding day, if we go by your logic, shouldn't you be the one who shouldn't attend? My sister's words left her fiancé flustered. He still doesn't know about my real job or educational background. Michael Smith have been an orphan since I can remember, raised in an orphanage, important out from a young age. I loved browsing through the illustrated encyclopedias available at the orphanage. Even if I couldn't read the words, I enjoyed looking at the pictures and exploring unknown worlds. And around the age of 4, once I became able to read letters. I also started delving into novels. Children's novels usually don't use any difficult expressions, so if you can understand the basic words, you can read and understand them easily. For words and meanings I didn't understand or unique phrasings in novels, I'd ask the staff at the facility. So by the time I was 5, I could understand not only the basic expressions, but also difficult expressions too. I then began to take interest in numbers, making it a daily routine to solve homework problems of grade schoolers in the orphanage alongside them. Around the time I turned 6, Robert Smith, who'll be my father, found me. I was keen on studying, but I was terrible at sports. Maybe that's why I was shorter than most kids my age. That's when Robert visited the orphanage. He saw me studying among grade schoolers and asked the staff, "Is that child also in grade school?" That's how it all began. Upon learning my age and abilities, he said, "Such a gifted child. He can't get the education he deserves here. It would be a waste." And he decided to adopt me. But our spelling is a prister and his Karen were over 35 and had been struggling with infertility. At that time, fertility treatments were very expensive, and there wasn't much understanding from others. They both decided to give up on having their own child and chose to adopt from the orphanage. That's how they adopted me, raising me strictly yet kindly. They didn't pamper me for being adopted. They sometimes scolded and sometimes praised me, raising me as their true son. One day, when I was 7, my parents called me
Abjures, or having a baby.
Those words left my mind blank. I knew they adopted me because they couldn't have kids. So, when their own child was born, would they no longer need me? I was filled with anxiety, but it was unfounded.
Don't worry, Michael. You're our son. You might not be born of us, but you're just as precious. That will never change, even when the baby comes.
They reassured me with those words, and they meant every word. The child born was a girl. She was adorable, resembling both parents with big, bright eyes and a cheerful face.
Look at how she smiles. Doesn't she look just like Michael?
Yes, she does.
Nothing made me happier than my parents' words, and I doted on my younger sister, Glee, a lot. The four of us lived happily together. At 8 years after Lily was born, something unexpected happened. Suddenly, my mom fell ill and was rushed to the hospital by ambulance. My dad told me to stay home with Lily, and I saw him off as he headed to the hospital. Is Mom going to be okay? Hugging and trembling, anxious Lily, all I could do was keep telling her she'll be fine. I felt pathetic for not being able to say more. Then my dad returned with the news. My mom was diagnosed with a rare disease. It seemed as though he hadn't fully processed it yet, and he couldn't provide detailed information about her condition. My mom had to be hospitalized for treatment, but since it was a rare disease, there wasn't an established cure. While there were experimental treatments and new drugs to try, all were extremely expensive. And see, perditions. My family wasn't poor, but we weren't millionaires either. Of course, we didn't have the huge amount of money readily available.
Dad, I need to talk to you.
I approached my dad for a serious conversation a few days later.
Here, I want to transfer to a night school, work during the day, and earn money for Mom's treatment.
Michael, I appreciate your sentiment, but you're only 16. Perhaps you'll leave your mom's situation to me and focus on what you want to do.
I hadn't expected him to easily agree, so his response was anticipated.
Hey, Dad, I'm forever grateful that you took me in when I was an orphan and raised me with so much love and care. Without you, too, I wouldn't be who I am today. Here, I want to give it back. I want to do something for my family. Here, I can study at any time, but right now is the only time I can act for Mom. I think now's the time. If I don't do it, I'll regret it. Please, I want to work for my family.
Keep looking into his eyes and saying it enthusiastically. My dad let out a heavy sigh. And he said, "Okay, all right." He nodded, seemingly resigned.
Alright, I get it. But don't overwork yourself, okay?
Yes, I promise, so. Thanks, Dad.
Come by my determination, my dad gave in. A few days later, through his connections, he introduced me to David, his close friend and county president. I told David I wanted to work for my family, and he hired me as an office worker by day. I worked as an office worker, and by night, I attended the night school I'd transferred to, as my dad had warned. I struggled to adjust at first. Some days, I'd come home so tired I'd fall asleep without even eating. But the school had a diverse set of students of varying ages, and just talking with them was both educational and enjoyable. Seeing me exhausted every day, Lily started cooking on her own, preparing delicious meals for me. Whenever I could spare time, I'd visit my mom or play with Lily. 2 years flew by like this, and I successfully graduated holding my diploma. I visited David to thank him. He praised me. "You've done well balancing work and school. I didn't think you'd pull it off without ever complaining. Michael, you've got grit." From the next day, he entrusted me with more responsibilities at work. Lily grew up and started high school. She studied very hard on her own and also worked a part-time job.
Ellie, if you keep juggling work and studies like this, you'll burn out. Why don't you take a break and hang out with friends?
It's fine. You did the same thing every day, didn't you?
I couldn't argue too much since I saw my own past in her. Also, because you and Dad worked so hard. I'm able to focus on studying. Action for both of you and for Mom. I can't do this half-heartedly. If I decide to do something, I'll give it my all.
Alright, I get it. But don't overwork yourself, okay?
Yes, thanks, Michael.
It felt strange telling Lily the same thing my dad had told me years ago. Afterwards, Lily managed to balance her part-time job with her studies and eventually got into a state university. However, around that time, my mom's condition rapidly worsened. Despite trying various medications and treatments, there wasn't any noticeable improvement. All we could do was watch her suffer. And then around the time Lily turned 20, clutching a family photo from Lily's birthday party, my mother passed away peacefully as if she were just going to sleep. Even after her memorial service, our house remained eerily quiet for a while. As could contribute to my mom's medical bills. All those years I'd spent frantically trying to help the family. Couldn't I have done more for her? Wasn't there a less painful way for her? Seeing Lily cry in front of a portrait of my mother was heart-wrenching.
I'm dead, Dad Purcell. I figured out what I want to do.
There are many others suffering from the same rare disease my mom had. I want to save them, help them. I want to be someone who can save them. But I was already nearing my 30s. Is it too late to start now?
Son, it's never too late. Michael, you've always been right. It won't be easy, but I believe you can do it.
I was grateful for my dad's encouragement. A few years later, before I knew it, I was over 40. I'd learned that research on my mom's rare disease was advancing at a pharmaceutical company in New York, so I moved there without hesitation. By the way, Lily got a job as a diplomat. Surrounded by male colleagues, she was building her career, working diligently. Our schedules hardly matched, so we rarely communicated. However, one day, Lily suddenly reached out. I'm getting married. I want to introduce my fiancé to you. Can you come back for a while? I was overjoyed to hear about Lily, who hadn't dated anyone even after turning 30. Actually, I was ecstatic. After reading her message, I immediately discussed it with my workplace. I managed to get a temporary leave and return to my hometown. On the day I was to meet Lily and her fiancé, I headed to the private dining restaurant she had reserved, and the two of them were already there. Michael, Lily, long time no see. Yeah. Oh, let me introduce you. This is Tom, my fiancé. I'm Tom Wilson. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. I'm Michael. It's Lily's brother. Seemed like a genuine good guy. It seems they met at work and started dating. Our conversation flowed smoothly, and the mood was cheerful throughout the meal. When the meal was over and Lily excused herself to the restroom, something unexpected happened. Tom, who seemed like a nice guy until then, suddenly narrowed his eyes. Eventually, Lily looks up to you, and I was wondering what kind of remarkable person you might be. But you're just a graduate from night school, huh? What? I must say, I'm disappointed. You're not even remotely on our level. It might be best if you don't attend our wedding. Tom gestured dismissively at me. What do you mean? That despite his cheerful demeanor just moments ago with Lily, he continued to mock me with that same smile. I mean exactly what I said. My family has a long line of bureaucrats. Us only the elite of the elite. And now you expect me to introduce someone of such a low educational background into our prestigious lineage. I don't think I can handle that. I was silent, unable to comprehend his jovial cruelty when, coincidentally, Lily returned and suggested we leave. Ceteris Canensis, I thought about going back to New York without another word, but my concern for Lily's future compelled me to see her again before I left. It's hard for me to say this, but I started explaining what Tom had told me. Lily looked shocked and then angry.
I'm so sorry he said those things to you. Michael.
I trust her judgment, but I worry about her spending her life with someone who could say such things to his fiancé brother.
Don't worry about me. I'm not a child and I'm not the quiet type. You know that, right? So promise me you'll come to the wedding. Dad wants you to see me as a bride.
Late. I wanted to see my only sister's big day. But I was torn, fearing my presence might cause Lily trouble with her in-laws. On the day of the wedding, I visited the bride's waiting room in the church. Lily, you look beautiful.
Thank you. Michael.
Seeing Lily in her wedding dress brought tears to my eyes. Dad was already in tears. I wish Karen could have seen this. Referring to Mom, the three of us shared a tearful laugh. Soon after, Dad left the room, and as he did, same call to mentored.
Lily.
Seeing me, Thumb made a face of clear disdain.
Didn't expect you here.
I thought about not attending for Lily's sake, but I desperately wanted to see her in her wedding dress. Since I took a long leave, I planned to enjoy my stay here. It's my sister's big day. I'll leave soon, so please bear with me for now. Failing, I watched as Tom let out a deep sigh. But when Lily saw this, she glared at him.
Of course, doesn't matter what you say. I want brother to attend.
Lily, it's okay.
It's not okay. I'm Tom if you say one more bad thing about my brother. I might reconsider this marriage.
Fine. Into that show.
Why would I marry someone who badmouths my family?
Lily stood firm, and Tom, not expecting such a response, was visibly shaken before becoming defensive.
Well, it's true, isn't it? But that's true, isn't it? He just graduated from night school. Aren't you embarrassed?
There's nothing to be embarrassed about.
Then, the sound of Lily's slap echoed. Tom, taken aback, opened his eyes wide, holding his cheek in shock and slowly turning his gaze to Lily. Though visibly trembling with anger, Lily tried to compose herself, taking deep breaths. I couldn't help but put my hand on her shoulder for comfort,
Maybe it's you shouldn't attend.
Oh, what?
Just saying that how the different types of player, maybe you're the one who shouldn't be at the wedding. But Tom,
What do you mean by that?
Apple is working in New York as a doctor. By your own logic. Michael has a university degree. And it's from that league, no less.
Tom's eyes widened further, comparing Lily and me. After my mom passed away, I aspired to become a doctor. I consulted many people and set a 3-year deadline to get into medical school. David, my boss, had made an agreement that if I couldn't get in within 3 years, I'd give up. But he also made arrangements at work so I could focus on my studies. Though I got into a medical school in my town, I heard about advances in research on the disease in New York and immediately discussed it with my dad. Go ahead, he said, handing me a significant amount of money. David also generously gave me severance pay, and both of them wholeheartedly supported my decision. I had the full support of everyone when I decided to go to New York instead of attending a university in my town. I had to engrave those emotions into my heart and committed to fulfilling their expectations. It takes at least 8 years to get a medical license in the US. As currently, I've managed to obtain a license and am working as a doctor while simultaneously joining a research team for the disease.
No way. That's impossible. You lying.
After hearing my story, Tom shouted repeatedly, insisting it was a lie.
I won't accept it. I can't. Why didn't you mention this when we first met? Her size and a braid job, you could have defended yourself.
Is it I didn't go to a university in New York just for the prestige? I had something I truly wanted to achieve, and for that, I needed to become a doctor. That's all.
I didn't go to university in New York just for the prestige. I too again university in New York just for the prestige. I had something I truly wanted to achieve, and for that, I time whether I needed to become a doctor. That's all.
What's that supposed to mean?
My educational background just comes with it, so I wasn't interested in discussing it.
Tom slumped into a chair at a loss for words.
But why can you only measure a person by their academic background?
In a daze, began to speak slowly. Else all his siblings and parents had graduated from top universities, and he was the only one who couldn't go to that top university. From a young age, Tom was the only one who couldn't excel academically and grew up being labeled as an underachiever. Although he went to a prestigious college, he was in the department with the lowest entry scores. Because of that, the underachiever label stuck with him, and over time, his educational background became a complex for him. However, whenever he went to social mixers, just mentioning the name of his college made him popular. His family always called him an underachiever, but maybe to the general public, he was still considered elite. Thinking like that, he realized people didn't care about actual abilities, but only about educational background. Thus, he started to believe that having a good educational background was everything. In the midst of Tom's story, my dad, who had returned to the room, spoke up.
Do you really think academic background is everything after seeing Michael. Michael indeed attended a night school, but he chose that path to work and support his family while studying. Is that something to be ashamed of? Doesn't matter how you try to belittle my son. Chia, I am proud of him.
That's just an idealistic way of seeing things.
Lily frowned at Tom's sulky words.
But what, Mike? Oh, Michael, I have worked hard to get where we are, doing our best for our family. You only maintain your pride by putting others down. Oh, Tom.
Seeing Tom at a loss for words, I said, well, I kinda get the feeling of being anxious when someone close is accomplished. It's though our situations were different when my sister, Fix Lily, was born. I felt unnecessary since I was adopted and feared being left out. However, my family always reassured and cherished me wholeheartedly. That's why when I learned that our family needed money due to Mom's illness, I worried about becoming a burden. I didn't want to feel left out, and they didn't want to be alone, so I did what I could.
Sure, it might sound silly even though I was a high school student capable of living on my own. And there's stuff that was not... I just didn't want to be alone. I was scared of losing my family again, but I was blessed with a loving family, and that's why I'm here now.
Michael, you felt that way, huh?
Seeing Lily's teary eyes, I handed her a towel while she was wiping her tears. Tom murmured,
I just wanted someone to acknowledge me.
Tom, my family never recognized my efforts or abilities. Or no matter how hard I tried, I was always seen as the underachiever. They never truly saw my worth.
But Lily only truly saw and appreciated me for who I am.
Tom's hands trembled as he looked downward, and Lily gently placed her hand over his.
I knew Lily didn't care about academic qualifications. She went to a public university but treated me as an equal, without flaunting it. It made me happy. And when I introduced her to my family, they praised her. So though I was worried that if they found out about your high school background, they'd say something. But that's no excuse for my behavior.
Vermeering. Tom stood up to face me.
Heiko, I was wrong, yeah. Whether you went to med school or not, that's not the point. We shouldn't judge people by their academic background. It's who they are inside that truly matters. I'm truly sorry for my words.
No worries. Understanding is all that matters. And it was also my fault for not telling earlier.
Really now, I understand why you respect your brother so much.
See? It's like pride and joy.
I'm really sorry. Sincerely?
Watching Tom's heartfelt apology and Lily's bright smile, my dad and I left the room. 6 months later, the Chilitli and Tom had their wedding and seemed to be getting along fine. Before moving back to New York, I had dinner with my dad and the newlyweds a few times. Each time, I couldn't help but laugh seeing Tom completely under Lily's thumb. Apparently, that slap had a lasting effect, skewing their relationship balance a bit, which worried me. But seeing Lily's joyful smile, I think they'll be all right. I'm no only worried about Lily. As for me, David kept dragging me out for drinks, saying, since you're in this town, at least join in a bit. Talk about work, reminiscing about life in New York. The conversation never ended, and as we got more engrossed with our drinks, he said, You seem to always be worried about Lily, but what about you? Well, I mean, you're a doctor, yet I don't see any women around you. I've been just working. You've always been too straight-laced, only looking forward and missing everything else. The next day after that chat, he unexpectedly introduced me to his daughter. Nice to meet you. Hi there. David, what's this about? I just thought, since you're single, why not meet my daughter? Have a chat. Who knows? It might just work out. If you say so. Though it seemed that he talked about me a lot when I was in New York, and she got curious about me. Her name was Sarah Henderson. She's a flight attendant. She works mostly on international flights and frequently uses an airport in New York. We hit it off instantly. We got so engrossed in our conversation that David left without us noticing, which gave us another reason to laugh. She happened to be in this town at that time, and we went out to various places together. As my vacation ended, and it was time to return. Sarah, sensing my sadness, rushed to me and said, "It's okay, we'll meet again soon." Before I could respond, it was time to board my flight, and I left. After returning to New York and settling back into my routine, reminiscing about my time here, one day, my home intercom rang. I opened the door, and there she was. Sarah standing in front of me. "See? I told you we'd meet again soon."